Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kem. So today I'm going to be doing a pick a card. The energy for me, it wasn't as crazy in August, but for some reason now in September, the energy feels a lot heavier for me. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but I wanted to do a pick a card to kind of help with like this transition or this like energy, right? Like whatever the hell is happening. So I feel like everyone's kind of going through something different, but still the energy is there, right? So if you guys are interested in doing this pick a card, this is number 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in your readings. Bye. So pile number 1, you guys have, for the activations, you have integration, number 30, and the solar plexus chakra, number 3. And you could see like the similarity in the colors, right, with the yellow for the solar chakra. And it's interesting because you also got Ishtar's lion gate, right? And Leo correlates with the solar chakra. So a lot to do with Leo, a lot to do with lines, like solar chakra. You could be a fire sign. I'm getting like a lot of fire sign with this like pile. And I think that this activation, it happened in August, right? Lionsgate was 888. So I kind of feel like with all these like this like solar plexus and integration, I feel like this has a lot to do with, well, they're saying integration, but I feel like it has a lot to do with your worth, right? And what has like happened in the past versus what's going to happen now, like like this duality, like these two, right? Like the dark and the light, right? With integration, they're talking about like integrating old and new, integrating dark and light. And something significant could have happened in August, but what I really think it is like this activation, right? Like this 888, that energy, that frequency was supposed to help you guys move forward, right? It was supposed to help with the movement of like out of the old into the new. Like we're all talking about this timeline that's like changing, and like where are you at on this timeline, and like we're all hoping to be like on a similar frequency where we're not like in the old, right, or in the karmic time loop, and we're like on the new. So I feel like that this has a lot to do with that, right? And I feel like with this integration card, it has a lot to do with not only the old and the new cycle, but also like the dark and the light, right? You see how we go from like dark to light. And I feel like the old life that we've lived and the new one that we're trying to like head into, right? Like we're trying to switch onto that like new timeline, right? Be at that frequency. And I feel like what's interesting is that with Ishtar's lion gate, right? Ishtar is the queen of the night, right? And she's also the priestess of the light. So again, we have like this light and this dark concept, right? And I think that you're trying to make like a strong conscious effort, right, into starting new, right? I think this pile is like trying very hard to take things, do things differently, right? Like do things in this like new way, right? And I think what holds you back is this old mentality, right? Like the old way that like maybe you used to be a certain way. And I think habits from the past might kind of get to you still. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you want to like step out into this new place, like you want to be on this new energy, this new frequency, this new timeline, but there's parts and elements of your old self that I feel like hold you back. And I think a lot of it is like mental, obviously, but habits are habits, and like old ways of being, like let's just say you live 30 years of your life one way. It's like, how is it really possible for me to like step out and do things differently, right? And do things new? It's like I still do this and it's the same old shit. Do you know what I'm saying? It's reminding me of that song, it's like new person, same old mistakes, right? It's like you're trying to be this new person, but you find yourself making the same mistakes, right, that you used to make. And it's like, I think you're kind of freaking out because it has a lot to do with like, well, if I'm in this new timeline, then wouldn't I be doing things differently? And you find yourself putting, like, I feel like this pile is finding themselves in like old patterns, right? And I think it's really interesting because we're trying, again, like there's such a like we're being propelled, right, with this energy to the new, right? But at the same time, I think you're finding yourself doing things that you used to do, like old patterns and old ways of being that don't allow you to kind of step into the new. But what I would want to say is like, that's kind of what the integration means, right? I don't think that you're supposed to cast off. I know this kind of sounds like common sense, but like there's no way that like you can cast off 100% of that old self. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's parts of that old self that are part of you, right? So it's kind of impossible, honestly, to cast off like every single part of your old self to be like into this new, like stepping into this new. And that's what I'd want to say. If you find yourself like unsuccessful and you're like, well, like I've been working really hard and like changing, like, yeah, I think that a change is definitely possible. I feel like, yeah, you've definitely been making changes and there's definitely like this stepping into the new. But at the same time, we have to like understand that maybe some aspects of the old aren't as bad as we think they are, one, and like maybe some of those aspects that we, you know, want to cast aside are actually a part of us. Like it's a part of who we are, and there's no way that we can cast it out. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's just a part of who you are. Like it's in your DNA, basically. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about the bad habits. I'm talking about habits that I feel like you just want to step out and be like this brand new person, but at the same time, it's like that old self is still there. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, as much as you want to cast away that old self, there needs to be like an integration, right? Like, not a casting away, right? It's like you can't leave that part behind. You have to take it with you. Like, I'm not saying like take the old like bad shit with you. I'm telling you like, there's parts of your old self that were like amazing, right? Like there's parts of your old self that are worth taking with you. And I think that's something you need to like reevaluate. If this new cycle of like going into this new cycle feels like really rough and it feels kind of impossible, I think maybe it's because you're like putting yourself in an impossible way. Like, right, there's no way to take like to shed everything off, and like, I mean, there's no way to like not be yourself at the end of the day. Do you know what I'm saying? That like the actual person of like who you are, it's gonna go, you know what I mean? Like you're going from here to there. That person is going from here to there. Like, yeah, you can leave old habits behind, but like the point is to leave the old behind, to leave the things that don't need to go with you behind, and take what needs to go with you, right? Like there's still stuff that you should take with you. That's what I want to say. And I feel like with this line, I really feel like I'm talking to like maybe a fire sign or someone with Leo in their chart. Again, it could just be the time period, it could just be August, but I really feel like I could be talking to a lot of fire signs. And I think that this Lionsgate, right, it could have been like some sort of activation, like the energy. I think the energy is still it's still here, right? Like the energy doesn't come for one day and then leave, right? The energy stays for a while. So I feel like you should definitely, like, if you're like, oh, I missed my chance, or do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, there's no more time. Like, no, like time is a construct, right? And the energy from the Lionsgate, I feel like it's still like looming around us, right? I think it's still like able to be like tapped into. And I feel like the line could be an actually, like, if you're not a Leo, the line could be like an animal that's really important to you. It could be like a totem animal for you guys. And if it's a totem animal for you, I would try to like study the line, right? Like notice like things about the line, right? Like lines work in prides, right? And that makes them like really different from other like species of cat, right? Because I feel like most species of cat, I think they like work alone, right? Like they hunt alone. And like that's one thing that like lines do, they work in pride. So there has to be like some sort of, maybe this has to do with community, right? Like the people that you surround yourselves with. And I found it really interesting about lines, like the masculine line is very, very jealous. They say that, and like the feminine is the one that does a lot of like the work and the child rearing. So I don't know, like if you feel like the line is like a totem animal for you guys, I would like really like get like into the line. And also if it's not, I would just like see more about lines, because I feel like there's something about a line that could be like very important to you. Like animals work with me like a lot, so I feel like you guys getting the line, it's not only significant of like Leo or like August, but it could be significant of like an animal that's important to you guys at this time, right? Or for more people, like maybe it's an actual totem animal or so, like an animal that you guys relate to like significantly. So I feel like with the solar plexus chakra coming up again and the line, I'm just thinking of like self-worth, right? And I think this is like related to why you guys got the Nirvana quartz, right? Because the Nirvana quartz talks about like stepping off of a karmic loop, right? Like getting out of an old timeline, right? It's supposed to help with that. And it's a very, very high frequency. I would like try to get this stone. I mean, I picked these stones like, I didn't pick them, they came out, but I think these stones, you know, are meant to help and like to help guide you guys through this time. I think they could be like really useful. And again, I've been like working with crystals heavily during this time to like help me out with the energy. So I would like really recommend getting this crystal. It helps with like getting out of an old timeline and getting into a new one, like helping like end the karmic loop, right? Like to understand that like we don't have to kind of repeat the same things over and over and over again, right? And I think a helpful thing would be to like, again, integrate the dark and the light, to integrate the like old with the new, right? It's not supposed to be like an abrupt, like, you know, you shut the door and you're like in this like new place. It's gonna take like a merging, right? Again, an integration, right? It's like, I think that's what they want you to understand, right? It's like, even here it says to support, it's the frequency of integration supports our embrace of every aspect of ourselves, right? And I think that's like heavily what it means. It's like your self-worth, right? Your value, like do you even believe that you're like deserving of this new time, right? Like the people that you surround yourself with, again, because we were talking about lines and we're talking about prides, right? And like the people, the community that they work with. It's like, do you think that the people around you are a reflection of like who you want to be? Or the people around you, are they at a similar frequency as you? Like who are you hanging out with? Do you know what I'm saying? Like who is your, like the people that you surround yourself with? I feel like, again, a lot of these things have to do with your self-worth, right? And like the fact that if you believe that like this is meant for you, right? Like this new time period, and like I think that's the only thing stopping you, to be honest, from like this new time period. I think it's yourself. And I think it's an old way of being that has to kind of be let go. Again, there's parts of you that I think you should take. I spent a lot of time talking about that. So I feel like, yeah, there's like parts of you that you need to take with you. But at the same time, there's parts of you that you don't need to take anymore. And I feel like the parts of you that you don't have to take, I feel like to let them go, I feel like you should love them, right? Like embrace them. Like, let's just say like, you know, when someone passes, I don't know why that came into my head, but like, I'm just gonna go with it. Like if someone passes away, you like honor them, right? And like you spend time remembering them, and then you let them go. You don't just like, I don't know, I feel like because it's an old part of you, it deserves love, right? And even if it was a part of your like, you know, shadow, or your like some part that you don't want to take with you, it's like, I think it has to be like kind of honored or like loved in some sort of way before it's let go or before it's released. I think that could actually help you release it, right? Like looking at it and then releasing it. I don't know, like I'm thinking of a cord ceremony, like a cutting cord ceremony where like people write things down and then they like kind of burn them, or like, you know, they symbolically like, I mean, some people actually cut a cord with scissors. I mean, you could do it any way you want, but I feel like there has to be like a reverence to that old part so that we can like fully be like integrated into the new, right? And I think a lot of this has to do with your self-worth. And like, again, I feel like community, pride, the people you surround yourselves with, right? And I think that it's like time to get off this karmic loop, right? And it's time to do things differently. And it, like that could start like right now. Like I feel like you don't have to wait for like some sort of sign or some sort of ceremony or like anything. Like it's all from within. It's all from like what you want it to be. Like if you want to start it right now, then you start it right now. Like I would literally, if I was you and I was watching this, I would write down all the things that I don't want to take with me and parts of myself that like you should take with you, and like maybe do some sort of ceremony to say goodbye, right? Like I think that would be really helpful in like stepping into this new, right? And leaving the old behind. And I want to stop with like Akut. Number 6, het hurt. This is number 6, right? Number 6 to me is like the number of love. And it's funny because in the Egyptian like timeline, they say that number 6, right, represents opposites that complement one another. And that's kind of like what we're talking about with the integration, right? Like opposites that can, there's like something to do with complementing, right? Again, something to do with like you're opposing something that could actually work well together, right? Like that old self and that new self could actually be really like harmoniously working as one, instead of it being like the new self alone, right? It's like take parts of that old with you. And I think like, again, it's like an integration, right? So that we can go forward. And she's the ancient goddess, she's an ancient goddess of Egypt, and she's also like the goddess of light. So it's funny because we're getting like the Ishtar is the queen of dark, right? But the priestess of light. And then here we have the goddess of light, right? So I feel like honestly some of you guys should go into the sun. Again, like I'm thinking of Leo and the sun, and like they're ruled by the sun. So I feel like sun is just like really important to a Leo. And honestly, it could just be really helpful to you guys. Even here, like we have a sun right there. And I think like, again, I'm just thinking fire energies. And it's funny again, because she's like the wife, daughter, mother of Ra, and Ra is the Egyptian god of the sun. So again, we're getting so much sun. So I feel like what would be really helpful to you guys is like sun, honestly, like going outside. And I really love that what this card really represents is love, beauty, and pleasure. And I feel like it's trying to tell you that like that's kind of where you're headed. Do you see like everyone's facing like in that direction? It's like we're going somewhere. I feel like that's where you're headed. You're headed towards love, you're headed towards pleasure, you're headed towards like a beautiful life that you're going to create for yourself. And I think that it's time like you believed in it, right? With the solar plexus, it's like it's time that you believe in like that for yourself. And the fact that you could create it for yourself, and the fact that you don't need anybody to have this for yourself. This is for yourself, right? Again, like solar plexus, I keep thinking of you, like your worth, right? And like your alignment, and like everything that kind of has to do with you, right? And I think like that's where you're headed, that's where you want to go. And this is kind of like a confirmation that this is like definitely possible for you guys, right? It's definitely possible to walk in a new direction, to walk forward. And I think this like channeling was just to kind of help you guys understand that you are walking forward, you are doing like what you need to do, but it also takes like a remembrance of who you are and integrating all those parts of you that like you would like to maybe leave behind, or again, like reevaluate some of those things and try to put them together. It's about like merging the old and the new, right? The dark and the light, right? So pile number 1, I really hope that this helps you guys. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. So pile number 2, you guys got alchemy, number 8. I really like this card because it speaks about like a transformation, right? What is alchemy? Alchemy is like a transformation. And I think like this strongly has to do with love, right? Because we're getting the mandala of the heart, right? 528 hertz, the mandala of the heart. So I feel like this alchemy has a lot to do with turning things into love, right? Or starting with love, right? Like beginning and ending with love. Like which one came first? It was love. Like this has definitely something to do with like transmuting all that darkness into something better, right? And it's interesting because it's like which came first? Like these two, do they merge into one, or does this one merge into two? And it's kind of like a loop, right? The beginning, there's no beginning and there's no end. And it's kind of reminding me of an 8. And that's kind of, and yeah, and there's a number 8 here. And then with the mandala, number 17, it's a number 8. So 8s could be like really significant. I think this has just to do with love, let's be honest. And I think with the mandala of the heart, it's an expression, right, of the divine feminine, this mandala of the heart. And it speaks a lot about love, right? And like opening yourself up to love. And I think that that's what this pile is about. Like, I think that's what's happening for you guys. It has to do with like an activation. I know we don't have like green here, but I'm strongly feeling like this just again, with the mandala of the heart and alchemy, it's like how love is the most transformative thing, right? Like love is the most miraculous thing. Love is like alchemy, right? Like you can transform anything into love, basically. Pain into love, right? Like hurt into love. And I think that that's what's most important for pile number 2. It's saying to like trust in your heart, to trust in like love, right? And to understand that I think you think love is not powerful. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you don't view love as power. Exactly. It's like you don't view it as power. You don't view it as like, I think you view it as this. Like, do you see how she's like sitting back and receiving? But like this puts her in a very vulnerable position, right? I think that's how you see it. It's like, well, it's about being vulnerable, right? And I think that love is like actually the most powerful thing, and that's what they're trying to say, right? Like that love is actually more powerful than anything else that you like put in front of it. So it's funny how I feel like you put it last and it's like actually the most, like if I had to say like, you know, frequencies, I think what's the highest frequency? I think it's enlightenment actually, but for this purpose I'm going to put love there. Like love would be the highest frequency. And it's funny because this frequency 528, it's the love frequency of creation, right? So we have something about creation. And then it's funny here because we have Khnemu, number 4, right? And this is the god of the Nile. And the Nile, you think of like water, right? You think of like cups, emotions, right? And you're getting everything here to do with love, right? Like how love is the biggest, you know, alchemy out there. It's the most magical thing. It's the most magical element, right? Like that magic actually exists, and that like we are love, and like that love is inside of us at all times, right? And then it's saying here, like with the mandala of the heart, that the frequency that you're getting is the frequency, the love frequency of creation, right? And they're like, they're telling you to honor like the bonds between like you and someone else possibly, or you and others, like that those bonds should be honored. Those are soul bonds that are like very deep, and like that is what love is, right? Like a bond. And again, I feel like you don't like to be, it's hard for you, right? Like I feel like it's hard for you, and this has to do with like, and maybe an activation of the heart, right? And like maybe that's what you've been struggling with at this time, like a lot of emotions, right? A lot of cups, a lot of like feelings, right, coming to the surface. And I think it could be like very difficult for you because it's like, again, maybe something that you repress, right? So it's interesting that you got Khnemu, the god of the Nile, because we're talking again about like love, we're talking about cup, we're talking about emotions, right? And number 4 for the Egyptians was material foundation. And I feel like they want you to start a foundation now in love. Like I think everything that you create should be like, it's like every time I plant a flower, I do it with love, right? Like I start with love, right? Like everything that you create should be like in that form, in that way, right? And again, I keep getting something about like soul bonds, right? Like bonds between you and others, right? It's like what started first? Did it start from here and go to 2, or did it start from 2 and go to 1? Like it doesn't matter. It's a loop, right? It's like, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's like there is no beginning and there is no end. Like we have the infinity basically sign, right? And you guys keep getting 8, so I feel like 8 is significant at this time for you guys. I think cup energy, like water energy, love, right? That's kind of what you're dealing with. That's what you're working with at this time. And I think it's a really beautiful like energy to be like activated within you, right? To like begin and end with love, right? And it's really funny because with Khnemu, it says that he's the god of the Nile, but like that his creations would never have been able to like been started, right, without the female principle. Like he couldn't give birth to his creations without the female principle. And I feel like the female principle is love, right? Like again, you're getting the essence of the divine feminine with the mandala of the heart. So I just think it's really interesting. Like there's something here that they want you to like open yourself up to basically. And you guys got Preseli Bluestone number 33, and this stone, it tells you to like, it helps you to be true to who you are, right? And I think like that's why they're like trying to get you to like maybe get the stone, like it'll help you out. Again, like you don't have to have the stone to like open yourself up. I'm like using crystals at this time because they're really like, they've been helping me a lot. But if you can't get the stone, right, just, I think like the energy here is to like, to try to open yourself up. And I think it's specifically to another person. I think it has a lot to do with like knowing that everything that you create from here now forward, like after hearing this message, should be created in a like energy of love, right? And like to honor those bonds between you and another person, right? Like that's the deepest, that's like most powerful, again, miraculous, alchemical, transformative, like all these words, right, that we use to describe love. Like love is at the essence of everything that you should be creating. And I think that this is for someone who needs to open themselves up to like bonds that they have with others, bonds that they have like with the universe, bonds that they have like with whoever they believe in. It's like strengthen that bond, right? Like honor those bonds. Like that is what life is like really about, right? Like it's not about any of these 3D bullshit. It's about love and the like bonds we create with others, the communication we have with others. You know what I mean? Like the partnerships that we decide to create. Again, even if you want to talk about career, again, it should be doing, I don't think all of us have the luxury in reality to do something that we like love doing, but if like that's possible, that's what they're trying to tell you to do, right? Like open yourself up. Like this is for the heart, right? Like open yourself up to love, right? Be true to who you are. I think that the stone could be like really helpful to you guys. I would try to get it. There's something here that I'm like seeing with the stone that like it could be really helpful in grounding you guys a little bit. I feel like, again, do you see how she's kind of like laid back? Like there's something here about feeling like safe and feeling grounded and feeling like, again, it's like power. It has something to do with power and like being safe. And I think like the stone could help you guys in trying to like bring your body to a frequency where you're able to like relax a little bit so that you can receive, right? Because even if like they're just trying to send you this like energy of love and like they're trying to help you out, if your body isn't like open to like accepting it, I feel like it won't pass through you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you have to be open to it. So I feel like even resting could be like really helpful at this time. If you look at her, she's like kind of like resting. I mean, she's not resting, but she's like laying back with her eyes closed, right? And I think there's a lot of things that are going to come together in your life once you're able to like, again, like open yourself up to love, right? Open up yourself up to like, it's basically the universe, right? Because the universe is love. So it's like your deepest like desires, your dreams, your wishes, right? Like the people that you want around you, like picture all those things and then like imagine them being with you at this time, right? Like I think imagination could help you guys a lot. Again, it's like imagining the life that you want for yourself and then being open to receiving it, because I feel like the universe is going to work with you to like get there. So you just have to kind of like be open to it. And yeah, I really love that you guys got the King of the Nile, because it just shows like, I mean, I think the Nile is like the craziest river, right? Like it flows up. It flows like from south to north, right? I think like that's something that's really interesting. I mean, there's just a lot of shit going on in this reading, but I think like the main thing is to be open, right? And I think it's like to be true to yourself. And I think if that means like doing things a different way, or doing like, again, it's the way that you want to do it. Again, like the Nile flows from like south to north, right? And I don't know, there's just something about like this card that I think means a lot to me. Again, it's the cup, right? It's like putting everything together so that you can like have the life that you want to create. And I think it all starts with the heart, right? So pile number 2, I really hope that you guys found this helpful. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. So there's something, you guys, about like for this pile, you have a lot of 3s. You have 32. There's a 3 there, but it's a 5. But 3, 3, 12, 3, right? So 3s could be like really significant to you at this time. But what I'm getting, I mean, with the healing card, it's like trying to restore your health, right? Like that's what healing is, restoring yourself, right? And it's interesting because you also got the Mookaite Jasper, and the Mookaite Jasper speaks about like health as well. So I feel like there's something going on with your health, and I don't necessarily mean like it could be healing like from a painful situation, but I actually think it could be like your actual health, right? Like the Mukai Jasper talks about like what you eat, right? And like, are you eating healthy? So there's something here about like health for you guys, like that's really significant in this pile. Not just healing, like I see like the heart here, right, with green. So it's not just healing like like the energy within you, like a blockage within you. I think it's actually like what you're ingesting, right, and like who you're surrounding yourself with, and like the energies around you at this time. So it's interesting because I'm gonna start with this card for you guys. You guys got number 3, the god Ra, right, which is like in the family of heaven. And I think that's really interesting because I feel like it's like a fight for you, right? Like with healing, it's like there's something right now that I feel like you might be like like I think you're fighting for your health right now. Like honestly, I don't think you're like actually sick, but I think there's something going on like for pile number 3 where like health is like an issue, or health is something that you're trying to like achieve, right? And it's interesting because when they talk about Ra, they talk about how Ra, like to rise every day, right? Like Ra is the god of the sun in Egypt, and it's like to rise every day, he had to fight against darkness, right? Or the serpent. That's how they would see it. It's like every single day it was a fight to like get up and like to get up basically, right? And I feel like maybe some of you might feel like giving up at this time, or you feel like, oh, it's always going to be a struggle, right? Like every single day to like for the sun to rise, I have to fight like the serpent, like to go down, right? Or like the moon, right? It's like an opposition. There's always an opposition for this pile. And I feel like what they really want to like point out to you guys is your third eye, right? Because with Ra, like there's a snake in the third eye. Like the third eye is like, it's like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the snake is like the pendant in the middle. And they speak a lot about the third eye and how it's supposed to be used to protect yourself, right? It's not only supposed to be used to like, I mean, your intuition is supposed to be there to protect you, right? It's supposed to like help you. And it says that Ra used this third eye to destroy his enemies, right? So that's why I feel like there's something going on with like health and enemies and like, you know, I know it sounds like really like crazy, but I feel like, again, a lot of opposition, a lot of obstacles, right? It's interesting because the snake in the story, it's funny because it's like, it's weird. It's like the snake here, right, is the third eye, but the same thing in Ra's story is like he got bit by a snake. He was like deceived by a feminine, right? A feminine energy wanted his power, and she took a snake and like put it in his path so that he would get bit. And then when he got bit, it like he was gonna die, and she was like the only one there to save him. And what she really wanted was his power. What she really wanted was like something from him. So she was like the only one around, but like, do you know what I'm saying? Like the only reason she was the only one around was because she was the one that caused the entrapment in the first place. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what I feel like is going on for you guys, is like there might be some sort of like deception, right? And that's why they want you to like use your third eye, right? They want you to use your intuition. They want you to feel out like a situation, because I feel like there is an opposition. There is somebody I feel like around you that could possibly be like, in this story, I think it was like a lover, right? Or someone very close to Ra who like deceived him in a sense. And yeah, there's definitely like something there for some of you guys about like a lover or someone who like, again, is trying to deceive you. So I would be very careful. And I'd be like, honestly, with health and healing and like food, I would just be careful like around this person. I don't know why, but like I wouldn't even eat around this person, to be honest. Like I don't think they could seriously do anything like that, but I just feel like I wouldn't trust this person at all. Like I feel like you've like I wouldn't like relax around them. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't like spend a lot of time with this person. If you know who I'm talking about in your head and you're like, oh, somebody you can't trust, like someone who might like deceive you, someone who might like trick you, then yeah, like that's who I'm talking about. That's not for all of you, but that's definitely for some of you. And I definitely feel like there's this opposition though, because we have the snake, right? And the snake, I feel like a lot of scriptures, like, you know, like they say the snake is like bad, right? And then sometimes the snake can be seen as healing. It kind of like depends on, you know, how you see it. Do you see it as death or like an evil, or do you see it as like healing, right? And I think that that's kind of what we're getting with here. There's definitely like some sort of opposition. There's definitely some sort of like, maybe it's a way that you look at something, but I think that that's going to help you heal, right? Like the healing has a lot to do with like the way you're seeing a situation. And again, I don't know if you're seeing things clearly right now. I don't know like what's around you like at this time, but I would definitely like use your intuition. They're telling you to use your intuition. They're telling you to use like your third eye. They're telling you to use your gut feeling, right? When it comes to a specific person or a specific situation. And again, even with Perfume of Sophia, it's number 3, right? Number 12 making it 3. She even speaks about a confusing circumstance, right? And that like maybe you could be trying to force something. And for some of you, it could be like you're trying to force healing, you know, like force like the outcome of a situation, for like you're trying to force something in your life. And again, I think the reason that there's like this sense of control that you need is because you haven't, like you have to have like done more healing, right? Like the only way to like release control is to have healed and to kind of let things go. And then everything will kind of flow for you. And I think another like important message of Perfume of Sophia is like it has a lot to do with the nose, right? And the senses. And that's what I'm getting here too with like the third eye, right? It's like there's something that like you feel, there's a gut feeling that you have. Again, there's like senses that you have to use to kind of like use discernment on a situation, like to discern something, right? And I think it has to do with like people around you, things around you. Maybe you feel like you're not healing. Like every time you try to heal, there's like an opposition and it keeps you like in a low vibe. Do you know what I'm saying? There's so much that could be going on for you guys, pile number 3. It's like really kind of confusing even to me. But she's saying that like the way to like fight this is to use your senses, 1, 2, to like let go of control and to let things flow, right? And 3, it's like to unconditionally love yourself, right? And to unconditionally love like anyone who tries to oppose you. Again, we get like this sense of like opposition. So I feel like for pile number 3, you guys have it like the roughest, to be honest, because there's like actually something in your external environment that I feel like is influencing your internal, right? So it's not something like within that's needing to change. It's something actually like externally. And as like happily as that might seem, right? Like, well, like that's great for me. Like I don't have to, you know what I mean? It's not an activation within me that I need. It's like something without that I have to take away. Sometimes that could be even harder. See what I'm saying? Like, yeah, working on ourselves is hard, but like, let's just say you live with this person, or let's just say like you're married to this person, or like you're dating this person, see what I'm saying? Or this is a sibling. It's actually harder than you might think to like get away from someone who's opposing you. And if it's your own self, then that's like different, but I feel like strongly it's an external thing in your environment that's like opposing you. And that's kind of what's blocking the healing, right? It could be also like, again, what you're ingesting. They keep talking about that with Mookaite Jasper. So I don't know if there's something that you're like, I don't know if like you guys are doing anything like to numb yourself, but like that would be like something you're ingesting, right? Like something you're putting in your body that is disabling the healing, right? So you have to heal, I feel like you have to be clean, right? Like you have to start like from 0. You have to be clean. Like you can't heal when you're like in an altered state, right? So I feel like that's another thing. So you guys got Shiva Lingam, number 32. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Shiva Lingam. And this stone talks a lot about like healing, right? And again, you guys have healing, so that makes sense. And I think the other reason like they want you to get this stone is because it talks about like remembering who you are, right? Remembering like, I feel like healing would help you remember who you are, but for whatever reason, there's like a stop or an opposition to the healing, or there's a stop or there's an opposition to like, there's something opposing you, right? Like there's something externally that opposes it. And it could be like, again, what you guys do to cope. It could be like something that you're ingesting. It could just be like, you know what I mean? Like someone around you who like numbs the pain, right? Like somebody you just kind of like have around to like, have around. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many ways that this could be opposed, but they want you to get back to who it is that you are. And to get back to who it is that you are, you have to cut out whatever it is that's like wrong in your environment. 1, 2, it's like a remembrance of who you are. And for that, I feel like you have to like go back to the basics, right? Go back to the senses. again, like she talks about the nose, which is such a random thing to talk about, right? Like someone's nose, someone's senses. And again, here you're talking about the third eye. So again, we're talking about the gut with like what you eat, and then healing. So I feel like this has a lot to do with like just that, like remembering who you are, remembering like what it is that you actually like desire, right? And then like healing from whatever pain that you feel, so you can kind of start back from zero. So I feel like if there's a confusing circumstance in your life at this time, if there's something that's kind of like inhibiting this growth within you, this healing, right? I think again, don't try to force anything at this time. I think just kind of like centering yourself and like using your gut. That's what I would say for this pile, like use your gut, right? And this one helps with like health, right? And like talks a lot about like eating properly, right? And like whatever you're ingesting. And then this Shiva Langham talks a lot. This is Mukai Jasper. And then Shiva Langham talks a lot about like remembering who you are, right? And getting back to like that person, that like what it is that person wants. Again, unconditional love for yourself, unconditional love for whatever this external force is that could be affecting your life like in a big way. So yeah, pile number 3. I really hope this helps you guys. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.